We have Ansab and we have Victor Zhang as well to round it off our top 8 slots. Those are going to be our feature matches for
Correct.
today. So we're going to get started already. But before we get this one going, there is Eric, Cyan,
And
and we have
Morgan.
Morgan already making it into semis. They already won their games already, so they're just waiting on this one to finish up, and they'll be good to go.
So all of these decks, like if I just go through what top 8 is to kind of help Fuzzy out there make
Okay.
that pie chart. We
Yes.
got 2 Evas, we got 3 Youthbergs, a Gravidia, a Minerva, and an Arkwright in top 8.
Oh, I'm so excited for the Arkwright. And Arkwright already making it in. And we are ready to get into this game right now. Welcome to top 8, everyone.
Last game of top 8 technically. These two are basically have already set opponents in a sense.
Yes.
But hey, they don't know that.
They don't know that yet either, yeah.
All right, seems like Eva is getting the initiative and going first, which is honestly going to be a good upper hand. If we can get an obfuscate off, be it the grade 2, be it the grade 3, get that push pressure, get that crit pressure, while your opponent's still a grade 2, while a Youthberg is still a grade 2, that's where the advantage is going to lie.
That's definitely gonna be a good advantage. But what I've seen a lot for current Eva lists is that most of them are running more copies of draw triggers over front triggers, actually. How do you feel about that going forward? Because I've been seeing that as a recent trend in a lot of OCG deck lists.
It comes down to just understanding your shield values. Me personally, whenever it comes down to between fronts and draws, because most decks really just want to run 7 crit. You want that extra danger, you want that extra threat, which means comes down to your other triggers being out of draws or fronts.
Yes.
And the calculations you need to do is what can your deck sustain? Can your deck sustain enough hand size to shield value not really matter? So you go fronts, just increase your shield value, or does your deck need that extra help to find pieces where you can kind of sacrifice that shield value for just seeing pieces for random draw triggers?
Oh, so having the pieces and shield value gets you ways of being able to extend your plays and push your
Exactly.
game plan forward. Okay, I get that.
So
All
for
right.
Eva example is
Uh-huh.
you want draw triggers in a sense. You
Yeah.
have Ava that kind of searches your top deck, gives you any specific piece from the top 3, top 4, depending on your orders.
Yes.
But having extra additional pieces is never bad. And Ava's honestly not hurting for shield value. It's got Obfuscate. Obfuscate's a 10k on the board at all times. Sure, stuff like Minerva, stuff like Youthberg, only Youthberg technically can bottom deck it, but most decks that can retire can't touch Obfuscate. So
Yeah.
you constantly have that 20k, on average, 20k interceptors ready to go.
Wow, okay. So that does create like a completely different game plan overall. But talking about the game plan, we already have this game going on the way. Ansab going into his grade 2 turn, setting his 2 orders already, all good to go. We're going to go into Chamomile here, out of the right deck.
I think
But
Victor understood the situations. Like he's gonna probably get hit really hard by Eva, so he's trying to put Eva back into higher damage. That way, when he goes into his his Minerva turn, it's a little bit just stronger push than lower damages. Decks that can multi-attack, decks that have good pushes, honestly sometimes are, I won't say cripple, but suffer when your opponent's at low damage because they can go, okay, I'm just gonna take it. I don't care what the number is. I'm taking it.
oh, exactly. And then using the skill of Melissa here on the right to Chamomile, making him look at the top 7 of the deck and choosing up to 2 cards and putting them into the soul. Gonna be able to use that to his advantage, hopefully. One of the
Go for it.
go ahead.
If my eyes don't deceive me, there's already a chamomile in Soul, which means once he rides up, there's going to be 2 chamomiles in Soul, unlocking that, multi-attack potential.
Oh my gosh, and also an added piece to that multi-attack potential is a drive check revealing in Angelica as well, going into his hand, going to be further extending some potential plays the next turn.
Right, so this is going to be a very interesting turn, see how it develops, because Eva is all about a bit, it is RNG. Like Eva's ability to look at top 3, get a card is RNG because you don't know what's on the top 3. Using the grade 3 order is RNG. Looking at top 5 to get something, you're never going to get a good piece. So it really will come down to seeing what kind of board is Ansab going to get off of the top deck.
And one thing to mention about the top deck here, it looks like he was actually able to hit that grade 3 order off the top too. just now that he did with Eva, because he didn't have a third order, it looks like.
Did you not?
Yeah, he only looked at the top two just now.
That's the good thing about Eva is like if you can't see your orders, like originally because of how the ride line works, if you see one of the orders in your hand in the mulligan, or by the time you get to grade 3, you're set.
Yeah,
But in his case, he didn't. Okay, Eva, emergency button. Let me
Yeah.
fix this. Go.
that is so cool. So he did get the upskid off the top. It does have +5 right now.
And it will almost guarantee get rid of that Adrenal Angel if it doesn't intercept.
Yeah. So he's going to swing now to get rid of it. Back in the front row here. Considering how he wants to guard, he's going to let that go, but then he's going to also guard here for 15. Swing in with Eva. Going to Color Blast 1. Soul Blast 1. Soul Blasting the starter here. Going to get him another copy of Upskided. We'll see what version he's going to be pulling out here now. It's going to be the grade 3 Upskided for the crit pressure.
4 times out of 5, the grade 3 is coming out if they're able. Because that crit pressure is just too good. The grade 2 Upskate is an amazing card, but it is honestly a option whenever you either need to get rid of opponent's boards, or you've run out of pieces, or you're playing the mirror match, in all honesty.
Oh, wow. And now a heal trigger off the top now. And another one that's going to put that Upskided up to 43k.
I don't care about the 43. I care about opponent going back to 0.
0 damage gaming here, friends. Okay, Victor needs to contemplate how he'll have to guard here. He doesn't want to take this damage or go to 4, but I don't think he has much of an option because there is one PG that he did put to soul already. There's a PG in damage. Looks like he has to overguard here.
Actually, it's not an overguard. It's so normally that would have been just 25, but I'm pretty sure that is the heal trigger that says, hey, if your opponent's unit gain a critical through an ability and not from a trigger, it's a 25k shield. Unfortunately, 25 only puts him to 35 on the Vanguard, so he had to throw down 15k more.
So you actually have to end up guarding for a lot more there. Okay.
Which I completely agree with adding that to the deck. You're currently in a meta where Youthberg and Eva are reigning supreme.
Yes.
Overlord's technically still running around, but those two decks are really getting played a lot. And the heal effects are useless against Youthberg. Youthberg does none of the effects unless someone's playing Zest, which in this tournament technically there is.
You might have a legal target, just coincidentally, yeah.
But other than that, nobody's against Youthberg. Those heal triggers are not doing anything. They're always going to be 10Ks.
Yeah.
Eva, on the other hand, the crit ones against Obscurates, 1-card guards.
Okay, yeah. Now, Victor is taking his turn. He's going to call down the grade 2 Cabre. He's going to choose a card to Soul Blast here to finish resolving the skill. He's looking at his options. See what he decides on Soul Blasting here.
I got to give Victor props. 2 double heals, your opponent going to 0, guarding that 43k, managing to stay at 2 damage on Eva's first grade 3 turn is just, it's resource heavy, but is needed for the long game.
Definitely. Now he is going to be swinging here with Angelica. That's going to be coming in for 21k now.
So a card we haven't mentioned a lot in Minerva is Cider. That just got bounced to hand because her ability is you got a Minerva Vanguard at the end of battle that this unit boosted, bounce it back to hand. The card is amazing because it's also 10k shield in hand because you have, a Regalia in soul, which most of the time you will because Angelica and stuff like that. But the beauty about Cider is the fact that it is a booster that kind of comes back to hand. I've had a game playing Minerva where I ditched Cider for Ride Line and then proceed to throw down 3 more Cider in the back row.
Oh, man, that's so strong.
It's like I got 3 8k boosters that are going to come back.
And also I can use them for my cost my skills. That's so good.
Exactly.
Guard here for 23. He's going to no guard Vanguard here. That's a critical trigger. I would expect that he probably pass this to his Vanguard. Power to rear, crit the Van.
When your opponent says 0 damage while they're still a grade, while they just got to get a grade 3, critical Vanguard, you need to get them up as much as possible. There's multiple times where you don't want to put crit on Vanguard, especially when you have a restander, because you give your opponent more chances to hit triggers when it's 2 damage, 3 damage, whatever.
Yeah.
But this situation, you can't think that way. You need to put them at high damage as fast as possible because you're now you're playing a foot back.
Oh, talking about the back foot here, he's going to soul charge a Drilling Angel. Going to be attacking the van. It's going to be 21, 31,
About 31.
30, 31 or 36, I think.
10k from the trigger went to the rear guard. 5k
Okay.
gained from the Angelica. 5k to the front
Yeah.
because the Angelica is a soul. Oh, there we go. Enough for a front trigger for, no pass. Or actually, one to pass, maybe. But still, this is a really good rear guard. Like, that's a 25 and then boosted by 8. That's a 33k column. All right. Turn 4.
Now the order activation here from Ansab. Looking at the top of his deck here. Gonna see if he can find a unit that he can call. Quite literally, any rear guard is good right now.
That's a good rear guard. That's a 23k attacker. The good part about Eva is that if the game goes however it goes because of our trigger lock, defenses, offenses, what your opponent's doing, stuff like that, you don't really have to use the grade 1 research order to put in a soul countercharge, get an obfuscate from drop. It's nice, but if you don't have to use it until late game, the more orders you put into that order zone, the bigger Eva's search is, and the more pieces or specific pieces you have to choose from. Like right now, if we use Eva, that's top 4 cards of deck.
Yes.
That's more to choose than 3. And then the game progresses. So maybe top 5 for 5 orders, like that.
And one cool thing now here, because they got this skill off of the order, they can choose to target a order with the Advent Robust here, and they're targeting the grade 3 order to be able to add to their hand, since they have multiple copies of it in their hand right now, and on the order zone right now. Going to be going for an attack for 23k, as you mentioned. And they're probably going to be swinging with Eva for, looks to be 21-126, since he didn't
no Eva skill. No Eva skill was activated.
He didn't. Because the placement of the Boba Mine changes the way how they resolve this. Indeed, you're right.
To be honest, he could have plus the card to hand and then used one of the orders to put it in the soul, get an obfuscate out of drop.
Get a card value. Yeah, you're right.
But there's, we can't see the player's full hand. We don't know where they're thinking, their strategies and stuff like that.
They're at a low damage
saving
count
it for
as
later
well.
when he needs it.
Exactly. More order activations get a higher threshold of finding more pieces and then choosing to add obfuscate back if you really, really need to.
Yeah, I've been put in places with certain decks where I know because of either RNG or the game state, I'm not going to get multiple Persona rides, even though the deck has the ability to either search Persona rides or dig for them and stuff like that. And I've been put in situations where, like, my opponent's at low damage. If I Persona ride now, cool, I'll have a 10k to front and a good turn, but I'm not going to be able to Persona ride later. Let me just push now, save this Persona ride for another turn. And the same mentality can be applied here. You got the resources available. Does not mean you have to use them, and it's optimal to use them right now. You got to look at the board state. My opponent's at 2 damage. I can do a really strong turn without using these resources right now and put them to higher damage and use these resources when I really need them.
Oh, I like this idea from Ansab here. They're going to commit all of the extra resources, the extra criticals, into the one obfuscate that actually does have a crit. So it's coming in for 33 right now with 3 criticals at the moment. It's going to be 3 damage. It's going to take all of this.
There's something to say here. That obfuscate is only 1 damage if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's just an intercept, yeah.
I would have swung with the 1 damage first.
Force him to guard 15.
Force him to guard. And then if he wants to take 3 damage, he wants to take 3 damage. But one of those things, like if he takes the 1 damage, he has to guard this big 3 critical.
Yes.
And on top of that, I'm damage denying him.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay.
But in all honesty, this is a preferable outcome because, hey, my opponent's at 5 damage. Every single swing is now lethal.
Yeah. So now let's see how this is going to do here.
Use the Minerva skill, look at the top. He sees a draw trigger, which is not bad. Chooses not to use, any of the abilities. So he knows he's got a draw trigger. He's going to gain extra 10k power to something on the board. It really comes down to what his hand looks like and what the units are available to him. Because he's getting 15k to the front row because of Persona Red and Minerva's ability, which is not a small number. Like that Melissa right now is swinging for, 23 on her own.
And there's still a Chamomile on Soul, and he has like all his CB to work with. So he's going to be attacking on boosted. It's going to be a no guard. It's going to be plus 10k to the booster. So that center column is going to be huge, and now a critical. Plus another 10k to the booster again, I would think, or to the Vanguard, of course, because that's going to be restanding anyway.
I mean, in this case, booster or Vanguard, it does
Yeah,
not matter
that
because
doesn't
everything
matter.
is the same column.
Yeah.
You know where it does matter?
What?
Decks like Uberk and decks like Leonord.
Ah, yes, because the booster restanding. Or you can do another cheeky thing. Since you're boosting with 3 rear guards, you can give the power to a side column.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Still give the
Yeah.
power to Vanguard, but then when the rear guard restands, you're still giving it to the column.
Ah, okay, okay. Discard. Regalia's here. Gonna cut 'em blast. Use double chamomile, call them out. Swing Van again.
And these are both 25k attackers. Like
Yep.
they're triggers to guard, but still
15k shields apiece. And you have to PG the Vanguard here.
that's gonna help. All right, 2 more swingers, both 25, both only 15k shields,
That's
which means either an intercept and a 5k shield or a trigger. Period.
Yeah. If he gets a defensive trigger here, putting him to 5. All he would need to do is just intercept out twice with Upskidif if he wants to.
I was gonna get to that point, but Victor's already doing it. Maybe going for the obfuscate is not a bad idea. You're not gonna be able to kill your opponent with 25s. Let's be honest here. You see the board. Just double intercepting already stops one of the attacks. It doesn't stop both. So swinging at the obfuscate, still hopefully hope to waste your opponent's hand and get rid of some honestly good cards on the board.
Definitely. Wow.
Persona Ride, though, is going to make this whole turn hard. And I want to say that Ansab had that Persona Ride for a while and it chose not to Persona Ride previous turn because of the thing I said.
Well, right now he's going to be putting Victor in a dire situation here. He's counting all of his upgrades, whether or not he wants to add any of them from drop zone to hand. Still has another rear guard slot that he can use here. He's going to use a skill of Eva here, yeah.
Look at top 4. We see a 1 grade order, we see a grade 3, and we see 2 triggers. So in this case, it's really hard to say what you could go for. You can either go for a beater. It's a 33k attacker if you go for the grade 3. You have enough CB if you want to really deck thin and get that order that you also saw. Or you can just go straight for the order and then put it into order zone and do some other stuff. Because I'm pretty sure this deck does still run combines, I think.
Let's take a quick look. Yeah, it does still run 2 copies of Combine Rusher. Yeah.
So you could have got the order, played the order, got a combine on the board who was a 30k attacker.
But it's a 33. Hits just a little bit better.
It hits that 1 threshold up, which is always sad when I think about what crit triggers are, how they give only 2k, and it's like 1k shy on certain units.
Yeah, exactly. Like on a 10k hit attacker, you're like, man, if you were like 33 instead of 32, whew, could have been doing so much work there.
This whole turn now is going to come down to what is in Unsub's deck, or technically, because he has that obfuscate in hand, he's set. But if he knows his deck list, knows his deck list, knows his ratios, seeing everything come out, deck thinning is deck thinning. If he's got an obfuscate target in deck, why not deck thin?
Definitely. So talking about deck thinning, he is going to use the Reception Monster Wavilos. He's going to use a skill to Soul Blast too. And since the order wasn't his soul as part of the condition, and he still has access to 1 more soul, so he can still call the Obfuscate from his hand or his deck if he so chooses. Gets him a little bit more resources that he can use to guard in case Victor does end up surviving here.
So I won't say this is a thing that Aero players sometimes forget, because you're so focused on your optimal plays. Where's this obfuscate? Where's that obfuscate? Or researches this and that. The new grade 3 research has an act ability.
Yes, that you can rest it. Soul Blasting 1. Funny enough, which they're going to be doing here. Going to give 5k more to the Vanguard column, making that a 33k attacker this turn.
I'm just seeing 33s all across the board. That obfuscate over there is going to swing for 33. This is swinging for 33 right now.
Yeah. So this is a 2-card guard for each attack, at least.
Even if you have front triggers, that's still 5k to guard.
Exactly.
The perfect situation would be having 2 fronts right now and using both interceptors, but we don't run fronts in Minerva. We run draws.
So the turn that Victor ended up eating all of that damage and going to 3 here might end up coming back to bite him. So him putting himself to 5 put him in a very tight situation. So they're contemplating, they're asking for like trigger counts as well, because the deck has been relatively thinned out, and over trigger is still also in play, and deck thinning has been happening. All the normal units, all the upskids, all the other units have been getting filtered out slowly but surely.
Yeah, see, Unsub's Overtrigger still on deck. Is Victor's Overtrigger still on deck?
From what I remember, no, I don't think. The Overtrigger for Victor has been out yet.
So Victor is really counting a lot here. Like, how many heals do I have left? What's my shield value? In all honesty, sometimes you're put in these situations where the numbers don't become, okay, can I guard everything? They become, what do I have to guard and hope for a heal to survive this turn?
Exactly. You're like, okay, should I eat the first one and then heal, maybe?
It's crazy how that actually does become a whole mentality of, okay, if I take this first attack, everything else becomes easier to guard if I heal. But if I, or do I guard everything now and just hope for the last heal? Like, it really becomes a mind game that you're playing honestly with yourself.
So Ansab here trying to secure himself into semifinals. Is this going to be it? Will he end up filtering through all of his deck, get to close out this game? The Upskidade on the left that got just called just now has the extra critical, and it's going to be swinging for 10k extra power, obviously, since he has 3 or more orders.
This is, the Upskidades are 33, and it's getting boosted by 13. That is a 46 double critical column.
Exactly. And I don't know if you notice it as much as I notice it. Victor has not been securing too many perfect guards in their hand.
And we see one of his good heals already be used. If he's got another one, cool. That's a 38k guard and 1 heal, but you still need that extra 10k, which he does have draw triggers. All right, one of passing the Vanguard, which is the gamble you sometimes have to take.
That's a heal trigger. Gonna heal that perfect guard. A bit of reminder. If he had eaten that first attack.
It was all calculations. Like, he had the perfect guard. He could have perfect guard the Vanguard.
Yes.
And then hoped to have enough shield to guard the 46k double critical. But then the other crit would also gone to the other rear guard.
Yeah.
Which means his best option, which you can't know this. You never can know what's on the top of your deck. Your best option is, hi Ben, your best option is to, in this case, was to take the first attack.
Yeah.
You would heal out of it, you would have gotten 10k more, and then everything else becomes a little bit easier. But players can't know this. You don't know the top of your deck at all times. You can't gamble on that. You got to pick the best course of action you think in that moment is there.
Yeah. How did you feel about it?